have a photo of the suspect police are looking for.
Maybe 31, can you please respond to this?
This shooting happened December 8th of 2016. And the very next morning, DeMercy actually walks himself into the police precinct to turn himself in.
He immediately told law enforcement that he was acting in self-defense and why.
How do you pronounce your name? Eleanor. What brought you here today?
Somebody was trying to kill me.
Delano DeMercy has been charged with the first-degree murder of James Peoples. This is his second trial. The first one ended in a hung jury, meaning at least one juror was unwilling to convict. Since day one, he's maintained that he was acting in self-defense. On the stand, DeMercy brings up an incident that allegedly took place 2 weeks prior to the night he shot James Peoples, an evening where he says someone shot at him.
I was coming from work and I was riding by a park. When I stepped off my bicycle, I heard a loud bang, and next to my feet, dirt flew up. The second shot was fired. It went past my shoulder, and then I ran. At the time, I didn't know who shot at me. 2 days after the shooting, I received a call. You lucky that I'm this, stay away from baby. You know where you stay, you know where you work, you know where you live, I'll find you and kill you. You're not worth it, but I'll make you worth it. And I asked him, who's this? And he said it was James.
It was alleged that there were threats and physical actions taken against Mr. DeMercy. And if you have a reasonable belief that if you do not act to defend yourself, that you yourself will be injured or killed, then you are entitled to claim self-defense.
Can you tell the jury what led up to you going into the gas station? If you could start with when you first saw Mr. Peoples in a vehicle.
Mr. DeMercy's account, corroborated by Darnisha McCrae, is that both parties saw each other on Atlantic Avenue.
He rolled down the window. I kept on. I didn't want any contact with the guy. My original plan was to go to the Chevron and just buy some cigarettes. I parked my bike right here near the car wash.
Who shows up to a shooting on a bike? That's not smart. If he wanted to do this, it makes way more sense. Drive by in a car. You get away quicker, there's some protection from a car.
So DeMercy was riding his bicycle, and he observed James Peoples in the passenger seat of the vehicle.
So I thought I could go inside the Chevron, run out the back, and haul ass across the street. I was putting up distance. And exactly outrun him on foot on a bike during the car.
I stopped by a gas pump, and James got out of the car.
I went inside the Chevron. There are two doors, one leading in, one leading out. As I went inside the Chevron, I opened the front door. When I went to escape out the back door, it was locked.
You do not need to see the glint of steel before you're allowed to defend yourself. Delano doesn't have to wait to see James People pull out a knife or a gun to be able to use self-defense.
What happened next?
After that, I turned around and reached into my book bag. As I stepped outside, I fired the initial shot at Mr. Peoples. He turned, I thought he was reaching for a rifle, and I shot him a second time. And when I ran after him, I was going to hold him at gunpoint until the police came, but he reached up and tried to grab the gun I had. I looked to my side, the car he was in was gone. I didn't know if they were gonna come back, shoot back at me, or retaliate, so I left him.
I drove off. I was really scared, and my phone was dead, and I was trying to call someone, and I drove out of the plaza.
But did you believe that had you not pulled and used your weapon, that you yourself would have been shot or seriously hurt?
I believed he was coming to kill me.
Delano DeMercy's team has created a solid foundation for self-defense. But the surveillance video shows him shooting James Peoples not once, but twice, and then attempting to shoot him again when he was on the ground.
The first shot could have given Delano the opportunity to either flee or run back inside the gas station and lock the door. this wasn't the case, he continued to go over him and shoot him.
DeMercy claims that he received threatening texts from Darnisha McCray on a phone that allegedly broke and is now missing.
You sent a text message to Darnisha telling her that you've had enough of everything. It's time to take action. You don't feel about it. Say goodbye to that person. He won't live long. That's on everything, right?
The majority of those text messages are response to threats. When we were texting, my phone broke, so I had to get a new phone.
Okay, but none of those are on your phone, right?
As I said, if we're able to get my old phone, you would be able to see those.
We had no records of any texts where he was threatened.
The prosecution has another piece of evidence up its sleeve. DeMercy's confession tape from just 12 hours after James Peoples was shot.
I was mad.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, I was pissed.
So you saw him yesterday and you said that's it?
It's not that I saw him, it's just I knew that night one of us was gonna die. I didn't want to kill him.
Okay.
I mean, how are you gonna play one part that's when after the police beat me down for about an hour and a half?
So you're telling the jury that the police beat you down after an hour and a half, right? And the part that I played for you is at 8:22 in the morning on December 9th, 2016, right? So it's not an hour and a half. It was actually all told 30 minutes, including the time that it takes to read your Miranda and ask you the basic information about who you are and where you came from, right?
Yeah.
You didn't tell them about the text message that you received from Darnisha on November 8th of 2016.
Good.
You didn't tell them about any of these things that you're telling the jury you thought about, right?
They asked me questions and I answered them.
I have no further questions.
You're talking about the fact that James Peoples was threatening you in these text messages, but you never said that to the police the day after.
Okay, did you bring the jury?
2 hours after beginning their deliberations, the jurors returned.
In the Circuit Court of the 15th Judicial Circuit, Criminal Division, in and for Palm Beach County, Florida, State of Florida versus Delano DeMercy, defendant.
Right before the verdict was read, it was very nerve-wracking for us.
We, the jury, find as follows. As to count 1, we found the defendant guilty of second-degree murder.
DeMercy is found guilty, but not of murder in the first degree, the top charge in which he was accused of, but he's found guilty of a lower murder in the second degree.
A guilty verdict means that the jury believes that the killing of James Peoples was not self-defense. However, the second-degree murder conviction shows that they were not convinced that it was premeditated.
I had to be at his trial because I felt like my son needed to be represented in a better light than Delano was trying to shine on him.
Judge, love you, mama. Not y'all.
You don't love you either. When Delano got up to leave, oh, he had a lot of choice words for us.
Y'all son was a monster. God forgive me. Quiet.
Only thing I could say to him was, young man, God bless you. Because I know in my mind, sweetie, you're gonna need it.
Well, now you're showing your true colors, because that was just nasty in my opinion. And quite frankly, you did it in front of a judge who's going to sentence you. So that wasn't exactly the smartest thing to do.
What I'm going to sentence you to, based on the evidence that was received by the jury, as well as the evidence I've received today, is 45 years in the Department of Corrections.
Delano DeMercy gets sentenced to 45 years in jail. It's a lot worse than the original offer that he got of 30 years, but it's also not life in prison, which he would have received if he was guilty of murder in the first degree.
He's going to get out at about 70 if he survives that long in prison. So in hindsight, probably wishing he took that plea deal of 30.
If you take a life, even justifiably, it appears to me that it takes a lot out of you and changes you forever.